Hello, welcome to the Reading Mama. My name is Heather, and tonight I want to share with you my reading challenge that I'm going to set for myself for 2026. So I was trying to think of what I wanted to do that was specifically unique to me, but also something that I enjoy and want to do. I love participating in all these other challenges and so fun, but I wanted something that was specific to kind of how I read and what I enjoy. And I came up with what I kind of already do for our homeschool, and it's I called it Perfect Pairings. And I'll put the graphic up here. I have two different options. But basically it's reading books that are similar or like one another. And so let me go through the two different options. And then there's a link in the comments below or in the description below where you can go and get this from Canva yourself. And it also has the little explanation card. So first up in my perfect pairings is pairing books about the same topic or setting or subject, but at different age levels. So maybe you're going to read an adult version and a YA novel, or you're going to read a YA and a picture book, or a adult in a middle grade, or YA in a middle grade, whatever combination you want, but it's going to be in the same subject category or genre. So maybe you're going to read a classic that is both adult and then YA that are similar in their topics or settings. And so I know it sounds kind of tricky. And here's an example. So if you're going to read a historical fiction about World War I, you as an adult would enjoy Switchboard Soldiers, which I've talked about ad nauseum. I think it may be one of my favorite books from the year, just based on the amount of times I've recommended it. So you're going to read Switchboard Soldiers, which talks about all the things going on with women in World War I, in the switchboard occupation. Maybe you're going to read with that the YA / middle grade by Jennifer Nielsen, Lines of Courage, which talks about a French resistance girl and people on the front lines in France during World War I. Or maybe you're going to pick one of those first two, and then you're going to read this more classic literature or more elementary age, maybe middle school, depending on your child's reading ability. The Singing Tree, which talks about a family who's living in Hungary during World War I and the effect that it's having on them. And so, as you can see, you're going to find just a perfect pairing between different age groups of that particular genre. Another example would be, I forget what subjects what I have here, but like a mystery. So maybe you're going to pick like in the same time period. Maybe you're going to pick something that's in the same setting, like they both happen in London, whatever it may be. But you're just going to choose it by age level, or suggested reading age level, I should say. The other option for perfect pairings is to do it with, sorry, I'm trying to think about a fiction and a nonfiction. So in this particular option, you're going to find a fiction book or nonfiction. You start with either, and then you're going to find the opposite to parallel it. So an example I have here for you is maybe you're going to read the alternate history Calculating Stars, which is kind of a historical fiction, science fiction. You could put it in either. And it follows, I can't think of what her name is, but it follows a woman of Jewish descent and her life as things change when an asteroid hits Earth in the 50s, and the space race is just catapulted forward, and it takes a lot of leniency, and it's great. But maybe you're going to follow that, and then maybe you'll read that wonderful book and follow it with Hidden Figures, which talks about the real life women of NASA. And so, you're going to find a combination like that. You could still do the different age levels with it, or you could just do just the fiction and nonfiction. I use both of these options in my homeschool for all of my kids. I have a high schooler, 2 middle schoolers, 2 elementary schoolers, and then some kindergarten and preschoolers. And so when we study certain topics, I try to find a book at all of those reading levels, and then try to find one that's at my reading level for. It may be a biography of a specific person, like they're all reading something about Corrie ten Boom. And so we have several different Corrie ten Boom biographies. But at the same time, if they are reading something if we're studying something in nonfiction or fiction, I will try to find a opposite pair with it. Like I said, with that, the Calculating Stars and the Hidden Figures, and I can't, of course, think of anything off the top of my head. A lot of times, though, it would be that I'm going to read a historical fiction and then I'm going to read a nonfiction biography. That is my usual go-to. If we're studying something in history, I'll read a historical fiction of that subject, and then I will read a nonfiction. I'm trying to think of one, and maybe you're going to read the middle grade book, The Lost Year, which talks about life in America and in Ukraine during Stalin's rule in the 30s and during the famine of the Holodomor and the poverty and everything that happened there. And you're gonna read that middle grade. Yeah, I said middle grade. Historical fiction. And then maybe you're gonna read a biography about Stalin or about Ukraine or about anything else going on in that time period. And so you can see how this kind of, you're pairing it. You're building off of your interests, your readings, and finding ones that you really loved and just digging a little deeper, going a little farther. And so that's kind of the thought behind this particular challenge. Like I said, I already do this a lot just naturally through our homeschool, but I'm excited to try to focus on doing it in different genres because I don't always do that. I do it a lot with historical fiction and science, not necessarily with classics or fantasy or science fiction, or contemporary novels, because that's contemporary is never my go-to. But yeah, I'm excited to stretch myself a little bit and find those perfect pairings. So if you're wanting to join along, make sure you get the graphic down below, or just as you go throughout the year and you find some pairings, come back and share because we all would love to hear about it. Thank you so much for watching and have a blessed day.